Hi there, everyone. Thank you so much for taking the time to join today's presentation, which is all going to be about workflows for mid-sized law firms. And I just wanted to give a quick shout out to our visionary partners. We thank them immensely for their contributions in this year's ClioCon. Just to quickly introduce myself, my name is Taylor DiGiulio. I am a customer success manager here at Clio. I've worked with the company now for about 4 years, and I work completely with mid-sized law firms at Clio, and I essentially act as an advocate to help them best use Clio. And I'm now going to pass it over to Audrey.
Wonderful. Awesome. Thank you so much, Taylor. I'm so excited to be here with Taylor today. My name is Audrey Earhart. I'm a consultant here at Clio, and I own a company called Practice 42. We build successful law firms across the nation using tools just like we're going to talk about today. I am also a practicing attorney in the state of Florida, where we use Clio Complete to handle all of our workflow and things like that. So Taylor, I appreciate you being here as we dive into this presentation.
Thanks so much.
All right, everyone, we're going to jump in and we are going to talk about our jam-packed agenda today. First off, say you know I'm a fast talker. I don't mean to be, it's just how I was raised. So that's one of those things that I have to deal with. With that being said, though, we have a lot of things to talk about when it comes to workflow in your practice. The most important thing about your firm is that you always remember who you are. You are an attorney. When we walk down that area, you're an attorney. You chose your practice areas, and through your practice areas, you have your legal services. That is how you advocate for your clients and how we make sure that you are able to sustain your law practice business model and get paid. So at the heart of that is your workflow. Everything that happens in your head when it comes to running your law practice needs to come out of that. In the old days, I've been practicing law for 20 years. I went into legal tech about 12 years ago. When I started practicing, we literally used to write it down on a pen and paper. If this happens, then this happens. And that is conditional logic for us. That's the starting of a workflow. If someone hires me to draft a will, my background is estate planning, elder law, and probate. If someone hires me to draft a will, then we're going to sign a contract. If they sign a contract, then I'm going to take payment. If I take payment, then I'm going to draft the documents. If I draft the documents, then I'm going to send them to the client to the review, step by step by step. The problem that we have with workflows today, even in the most successful law firms, is they're mobile, they're fluid, things change every day. So how do we stay on top of that? On top of the fact that we have to have client management concerns, consistently onboarding new team members who are going to make us have better advocacy for our clients, stay on top of things, and also just get the work done, right? So we have to think in that frame. I'm a lawyer, I have practice areas, my legal services, and now what are all the steps? Remember the Tootsie Pop owl in the old days, the licks that it took to get to the center of the Tootsie Pop? What are all the licks it takes to take a case that a potential new client brings to me from intake through closure? What are all those steps? And then after that, how do we harness that satisfaction from that new client who is now a closed client and turn them into a campaign warrior, a champion client for us in our firm so we can get more clients just like them over and over and over again? Unfortunately, when we talk about consistency, when we talk about efficiency, when we talk about workflow, a lot of times when I'm talking to lawyers across the nation, there's that immediate pushback of, I want to be free thinking. I want to be creative. I don't want to do it the same way every time. And my challenge to you would be, when we know how we get the work done the same way, intake through closure every time, that's when we free up our headspace to be able to actually get in there and be creative, to figure out solutions for our clients. And I know, whether or not you feel the pandemic is over, or maybe it's still here, who knows, at least we get to be in person this year, right? With that being said, we still have pandemic brain fog, most of us. Most of us still, my other degree is as a certified behavioral consultant, most of us still are missing about 13 to 17% of our brain on a daily basis. And the minute that we get distracted with a side task, we lose another 21 minutes for every distraction. So as we think about that, workflow comes in and it saves lives. And even more important of what's coming in from this practice is it also helps us get everything out of our head so we can hire the team and get where we want to go. Across the board, what we're trying to do is here and here. We're focusing here on using technology to level up our firms, to amplify our impact. That is our goal here. And it comes with setting the standards that matter to you in your practice. There is no one size fits all for running a law practice. I know you all agree with me on this. If there was, we would all do it that way, make a tremendous amount of money and be done. But on the flip side of that, most of us are martyrs in our practice. We are leading our teams. We are advocating for our clients getting the business in the door, and keeping about 37 plates spinning behind us at all times. And so now we're trying to find ways to make it better, to streamline our process, and yes, enhance it over time, but also get it set so we can follow it and make intentional enhancements over time and have the data we need to make those decisions. And then on top of that, it comes on to legal team. When you are onboarding a team member, when it comes to technology, it's great when we find someone, right, who's already batteries included. That, in my mind, is they already know how to use software, specifically your software, perhaps not the way you like it, but they have some idea of how to do things. But most people are not ready for your software process. You may not be ready for your software process. So we have to make things consistent, make it really work for you, and then create a systemized process so we can onboard and make efficient team members within 21 days. That's my goal for you. With that being said, though, as you know, successful law firms don't happen. Most of us were not trained to be business owners. We were trained to be really, really great lawyers. And that's a very different disconnect. It's like when we're talking to a lawyer who's coming to us for marketing solutions from our marketing company. Most of us weren't trained as marketers. Most of us weren't trained as legal tech. We were just trained to be amazing lawyers. So we have to harness and focus where we can and make sure that we're using the tools available to us today. So many of us are using Clio, we're using Clio software, but we don't understand the true value it can provide us, especially when it comes to bringing on new team members and taking back our time. Where I start with everyone when I'm working with them or talking to them is asking them, do you ever on a daily basis wish you could just clone yourself? Not hire somebody, not do anything like that, just clone yourself. If I could just have a second me, everything would be fantastic. I mean, I feel like this on a daily basis. With that being said, though, what I find when we're in this space is it can be super impactful to start keeping what I call a bottleneck list, especially when we're building a workflow, whether that's a workflow to hire a new practice area, or to start a new practice area, hire someone to support a new practice area. Bottleneck lists are where we start to identify key team members that we can bring in and then leverage up through software. So what does that start like? I don't want to answer my email every day. I don't write that down consistently, but throughout a week, put a check mark on it. I don't want to have to call back this certain type of client. I don't want to have to write the same response that I send to everyone time and time again. The more we check those things off, the more we first off create intentional hiring specifics for how we're going to get that next person into our office, that key career team member that we want, that then we're going to train in our software program so we can get them able to be delegated to with accountability. And then you can harvest those rewards as we think about those things. But it's really important that we start by understanding what you need. Same thing when it comes to hiring a new person in your practice. Same thing comes in when we start to figure out how do we build a workflow. What are the things you are wasting time on every day that you know is not real legal work? You know what real legal work is in your practice area, in your industry, in your field. But are you doing those things? Are you doing those high-level things? Or are you doing the things that really a chatbot could be doing? And I hate to say it that way. I love your legal team. I want them to be there. But sometimes we just need someone who can take the work off our plate and do the routine tasks. And that's where we harness the power of workflow and harness the power of automation so you're able to spend your time on things that actually can make you money and control what you're spending your time on so you can advocate more in your community. And we're going to walk through a practical example at the end as well. With that being said, all of this, don't listen to me at all of this lives in your head. You can go back to your room tonight as homework or whenever you're watching this and watch this and sit back and go, you know what? How do I do everything from intake through closure? I would challenge you to think about your practice as intake, active campaign, and closure, okay? So intake is everything that happens before they hire you, before they sign that retainer agreement. The minute they sign that retainer agreement, they transition from being a potential client to an actual client. Now we've got to get that work done in our statute of limitations, according to court deadlines, or just get the work done so we can send them that nice closure letter required by most of our malpractice carriers ready to go. But then goes into that last phase of how do we create them into a champion client? Every firm I talk to, every lawyer I talked to a lawyer on the plane up here from Orlando this week, and they weren't harnessing that next step. Google reviews are trusted as just as strongly as your grandmother. I know that sounds crazy, maybe not your grandmother. But that being said, the Google review is trusted 93% as a close older family member. So we need to harness that, move that forward, get that into your practice, and then get people talking about you with their friends and family. That's that third piece. So we think intake, active case closure campaign that most firms are missing. And if we just added that little piece, that little workflow to get them engaged, then we could be having referrals time and time again from satisfied clients who already know, like, and trust us. But everything you need to do lives in your head. You know how you want your practice to run. It's just a matter of making a system that we can then enhance, enforce, and follow through on to continue to train people and move them forward. You know, when we talk about workflow, I mean, I'm old school. I started all of my workflows literally on a legal pad 21 years ago, coming out of law school, thinking about how I was supposed to do things. I started as a public defender. I went to a firm where they did estate planning, and I had come out of law school and I went to gratuitous transfers, not what we call estate planning today. So a little bit of a learning curve. I learned how to make a will, all of those different things, but the firm had no process. The firm had no system. It was just read the statute. You all know, as I know, the statutes and the case law often are very different for how we actually get things done. So when we think about that, I started coming in, writing legal paths, writing workflows on pen and paper. Call it a process book, call it a toolkit. Those are all the things, and that's what we put into your workflow, and that's what we put into your task list. All the things you need to know how to do to run your firm yourself, and all those ancillary documents. It starts with just pen and paper, writing it down. Now, that being said, I have a lot of friends, a lot of colleagues, a lot of clients who prefer to go in and build it into software. By all means, build it from software to start. But a lot of times when we have that original process document, it allows us to move things forward faster. But I mean, this is your secret sauce, and your secret sauce is not my secret sauce. It's not your neighbor's secret sauce. It's not your best friend's secret sauce. It's about what makes you you. It's how your brand comes together, how your delivery comes together, how we put all of this together to have this amazing firm for you that's not just sustainable for now, but sustainable for your legal team and then where you want to go in the future. I have the privilege of doing a lot of performance coaching for sale and transition. And in that space, this is what modern purchasers, this is what modern associates and what modern employees are looking for. They want to go to firms that are batteries all included, for lack of a better statement, for you to come in and say, not to worry, we have training videos and an actual process of how we get things done. And when we have those pieces, that's what allows us to bring in these key team members within 21 days and have them up and running. And because that's always my goal for you. Hire slow, fire fast, get what you want, and get results, and use those reports that you have at your fingertips through software to make intentional decisions. Not your gut about, I don't like what Sally's doing today, looking at the reports to say, well, I don't like what Sally's doing today because she was at 13% efficiency. What is Sally doing with her time? These are the things we want to have at our fingertips so we can make intentional decisions about our firm. I wanted to go ahead and share this with you. I know I talk fast, but I know you also have this for your materials. These are the 8 components that I'm always looking for in a streamlined workflow. And I'm going to read it to you just so we're all on the same page. Number 1 in the intake phase, intake scripts, tools, documents, and your pipeline. Number 2, your retainer agreements, your case management action and tasks, your internal client and third-party communication, your billing and accounts receivable, your aging reports and deadline monitoring, your closure process, and your client family annual campaign. So when you're sitting there tonight working on this homework of creating your best workflow for us to implement now, but then revise every 30 to 90 days, this is what we're going to be putting in place. All of this should be automated in your technology system you are using today. If we're not doing that, we're not in a place to leverage technology to grow our practices. Instead, we're having that case moment where we say, remember that time we had that case like 6 years ago, and there was the guy and he had the 4 kids and the horse and the dog and the grandmother who lived in the other country, and we're trying to put all that together and find those documents. Instead, we build the workflows, and then we have preferences so we're able to harness the power of different cases and again, control the scope and get the work done efficiently and quickly for our clients. I gave you just a couple of screenshots here specifically. When I'm building a workflow, this is very much what it looks like. This is an elder law workflow. My firm in Florida, we are a Medicaid application firm for lawyers. So we go in and lawyers who are Medicaid practitioners come to us and we file their applications. So what I'm doing is I'm listening to them about how they want to get things done, and then we actually physically build it for them specifically. So again, we do intake, strategy, application, and closure. That's our whole focus. Everything you see here that's in bold in your materials, and then as you review these slides, everything in bold should be able to be automated in your software. And then we talk about the level of automation that you want. Are we automation in the sense that it's predictive and it's getting done? Are we automation in the sense of we're pushing the button and it's there in the template fields? We're thinking about automation now and intake, but also automation when we get to drafting. How are we chaining things together? What are custom fields? All of this is part of your workflow. But again, it starts with you coming together, putting it together, and thinking about what you want it to look like. In this space, Clio Grow's pipeline is an incredibly powerful tool for you in your practice. This is how we stay on top of things. So when we think about building this workflow, every step of the way, my pipeline will look different than your pipeline. These are the things I want to see. Are they ready for engagement? When did they come in? Did they come from my website? One of my favorite things is tagging things so I know what are we up to. I have so many tags it drives my staff nuts, but those tags matter to me in my data and reporting. I want to know what's working, what's not. One of my favorite things also is I put into our lead generation tool in Clio Grow, I write in there, what questions did they ask the internet? Because I'm super curious to know, how did they get to us? Were they referred by someone who's already in a referral network? Or did they ask the internet a specific question? And if we can actually get that question, the marketer's dream question from our clients, we put this in here, we make it actionable, and then we get the same clients time and time again because we're able to harness our practice area marketing to be focused specifically on what our clients are looking for. Clio Grow Pipeline in this way is so powerful, first off, to visualize where we are in the process. Secondarily, how far along are we in the process? We need to be building out your task list and your workflow in Clio Grow to match what's in your head every step of the way. My entire team will tell you I like to send thank you notes. That's really weird. I get that. I realize it's weird to say thank you for talking to me on the phone, but that's important to me. So that's in my workflow. When I see that that's not checked off, my first question, our weekly review meeting is, why is my thank you button not checked off? Because in the old days, unfortunately, not in the old days, it's unfortunate. In the old days, I would actually write thank you notes. But now in the current days, I link our handwriting looks like my handwriting program, and it sends you an automated thank you note. Still there, kind of handwritten, kind of meaningful. But all of that to say, your process has to be here. Then we have to build in your retainer agreement so it's good to go, your questionnaire so it's good to go. So we're not losing time. So we're able to get in here. If you decide to bring the portal in, that's a step here too. So making sure we are across the board exactly where you need to be. So when you run reports in Clio Grow, you know exactly where your cases stand, where they came from, and how far along we are in the deadline management of moving things forward in your firm. Same thing here as we're thinking about that. Now after Grow, they've signed the retainer agreement. That's our last step in this process. Now we're exporting them over to Manage. And then Manage continues that same intentional flow. If we were working on an estate plan, if we were working on a litigation case, if we were working on a DUI charge, everything that happens now rolls over and has its companion workflow and task assignment in Clio Manage as well. All those pieces that you've built together, all those licks that it takes to get to the center of the Tootsie Pop that you've built are now here and actionable, so you can delegate with accountability. It's not just asking a team member to do something. It's saying, please do it. You have the training on the process. And then I'm able to look at my software or run a report on my software and see exactly where you sit in your space. Most of my team members know I'm a 4 a.m.er. I start at 4 a.m. I don't love that fact. It started during the pandemic. I'm still there. I can't get over it. I start at 4 a.m. and my team knows that I go in at 4 a.m. and on the days that I check reporting, that's what I'm looking at. But it saves me the time of, first off, waking up a team member at 4 a.m. I don't think anybody would like me if I did that. But that being said, it also allows me to have that information in front of me when I need to have it, and I'm able to look at it specifically. With that being said, investing in our technology allows our teams to grow, and they can grow from a place of trust. Your team members want to succeed for you. Your legal team members, your associates, your shareholders, your partners, everyone wants to do a good job. Very few times do I go into a law firm and hear someone say, I'm here to do a horrible job. That's actually happened twice. And that then is, to me, a red flag. Whenever I coach or work with team members, I always say, please don't tell me anything you don't want me to tell your attorney, because I will tell on you. And the 2 times was, one was, I'm going to quit, I don't like this. And the other one was, I've been looking for another job. Is that a problem to do it on work time? So, those are huge red flags. We don't want that at all. How do you get your work done if you're looking for another job? With that being said, though, and that's important, we want to track our employees' internet usage at work. If you don't have a specialized firewall or a specialized IT network just to monitor what our team members are monitoring or searching every day, that's a conversation we should have after this too. So that being said, though, we're thinking about how we get this done, and this is what our employees are looking for. It's not that they don't want to be creative, but just like you, they want to be creative in a controlled format. How do I get my job done? And then how do I get creative around that to find custom solutions for my clients? So very important there too. Clio Manage, again, I love the Clio Manage assignments of work. I've been doing this for as long as we've been in Clio, and this is one of the most powerful things to be able to assign work for a team member and be able to see what they're actually working on, where they're spending their time, building out the categories and the expenses for all the different things they do, checking emails, scanning documents, all the things that aren't necessarily something that we're thinking about to make money for cases, although there are places where we can charge for that. But the other side of the coin is knowing exactly what they're doing throughout the day. I encourage all of my team members, I'd encourage your team members, have a double monitor, have a triple monitor, have Clio always up so you're there able to use the time tracker, have that available, and have multiple resources at your disposal. So we're making sure everyone knows how to check in and tell you, the attorney owner, what we're doing and what matters in the firm. With that being said, for those of you who haven't dove into the team member reporting, this is a huge piece. For those of you who haven't dug into the team member reporting, this is where I go in my law firm. I'm always looking at this and I'm wanting to see what elements of my workflow I can see, and then what do I need to harness, what do I need to fine tune, so I know everyone is doing exactly what they need to be doing on a daily basis. And it sounds simple, right? It sounds simple, but you all know in practice, especially the minute that we leave this presentation, you have 75 phone calls to return and God, probably 700 emails. We all know how busy things get. So being intentional and slowing down and taking that time to work on the practice instead of in the practice is really important when we're thinking about things like investing in team members, investing in technology, and taking our firms to where we are now and then where we are for our dream practice, which again, for each of us is a really individual journey. But at the end of the day, we have to ask the question, why does any of this matter? Most of the attorneys I know, I was raised by attorneys, everyone I know is an attorney. I'm sorry, that's just kind of who you're talking to at this point. But when we talk about this, most attorneys I talk to are overachievers. They're the martyrs. They are the ones, the buck stops with me, and I'm going to stay here until midnight or 4 a.m. to get it done if I have to. That is where we are. And that costs us. It costs us in personal time. It costs us in growth opportunities. And at the end of the day, we risk having burnout as well. So one of the most important things we think about is how do we make sure your practice can be a success without all of it riding on your shoulders? How do we take this technology and make it matter for you, make it intentional for you, and really be your best friend in this space? And I always ask any of the attorneys that I talk to on the side, how much of you is in your practice? If we sit here and do this exercise, how many things do you truly have faith you don't have to touch ever again this quarter? We just kicked off Q4 of 2023. If you didn't look at it until January, so Q1 of 2024, what does that look like? Are you able to actually physically step out of huge things? If you are, congratulations, and that's exactly where we want to be. But for intentional check-in places, you need to be focusing on just what you can do. Focus on practicing law, the most important thing. And if we are not doing those things, how do we get you out of the practice? As we talk about that specifically, I want to talk to you about solving one thing. Whenever I talk about this, it sounds pretty, right? It's, oh, Audrey, that sounds great. Let's do a workflow. Yeah, it'll take back my time. What we did at Practice 42 is we actually took a survey at the start of this year of our participating estate planning firms to actually see, did harnessing technology make a difference? And actually, it really did. It was really positive to see. So this is a generic example based on the cumulative data that we gathered from all the participating firms that we worked with who built software into their intake, their active campaign and closure process across the board. So I wanted to just walk you through this example. And I'm, again, an estate planning attorney. That was where I started. That's still where I am. And so I wanted to share this with you as this example. You bill at $400. Your legal team bills at $150 an hour. I then broke out for you very specific pieces. Lead process, 1.5 hours. First meeting, 1 hour. Design meeting, 1 hour. Drafting, 3 hours. Preparing documents for clients, 1 hour. Signing for 1 hour. And closure for 1.5 hours. Then what we did was we applied those dollars there. So we'd follow, and now whether this is your practice area or not, stay with me here in the billable hour space. Your hard cost doing this all without software automation was $3,300 if you had a team. So a team member who could help you with this. If you were a solo, $4,300 of the whole cost. So you had to be charging your client for a trust-based plan more than $4,300 as a solo to break even. More than $3,300 as a team to break even. So this is hugely eye-opening when you do this exercise in your practice. If you haven't done this, I would highly encourage you, build that workflow and then assess your time and your team members' time to it. As we come in here and we add in technology tools, we were able to take back an hour in one spot, 2 hours in another, 1 hour in another one, and then 1 hour totally from the closure process. By using technology, repetitive tasks automation of your workflow, making sure your team members were built in, we were able to drop down that it cost for the firm, not to $3,300, but $1,500. And over 2 quarters of monitoring the client responses, there was no change. There was no change to when they were doing it all in person, everyone hands on deck, to where we automated. It was seamless. And then also, if it was just you, instead of being $4,300 as a true solo firm, we got it down to $2,700. These are the things that matter, because if we stayed the same, if we stayed charging the same spot, now we were actually making a profit. And at the very least, we weren't losing our shirt on costs that could be avoided. Now, with that being said, I get it if you have hesitation about workflow, if you get hesitation about building out a workflow to then train your team members and hire them. We all have fear. We all have fear. We are busy. We don't have time for change. Change is hard. I completely get it. When people move things on me, I get stressed out about it too. But this is such an impactful way that can really make a difference in your practice. And I will say to you, if you haven't done that, when it comes to building the practice that you want, the sky's the limit. You can do so many amazing things. And I will say to you, although technology may be hard and embracing these concepts may be hard and getting it all out of your head may be hard, technology is just going to continue to move forward. It's going to continue to get faster. And so we need to harness it now where we understand it, we can make deliberate choices, and then evolve with it to evolve our practices and have technology meet us where we are to accomplish our goals. And when it all comes down to it, I cannot hide the ball from you. It all comes down to what makes your practice a success for you, and then building it into workflows that your team members can hire, the ones who are here right now, and then also our future team members, get them onboarded, moving forward the way that we want them to be. But I appreciate you spending time with me today when it comes for workflows in your practice and making sure we can get the most out of them and use them to train your team. Thank you so much.